Hello and welcome to Toastmasters in the Community. I am Fran Okeson, the producer and host of the show. I'd like to thank my limited crew today for coming in. We're missing a lot of key people on our crew, and we just have to fill in wherever we're needed. I'm needed here. So is my buddy over here, George Hopkins. This is maybe a third, or might be even the third or fourth time.
It probably is, yes.
Very good. George Hopkins knows about the studio. In fact, he just agreed, since he just reinstated himself with the Staten Island Toastmasters Club yesterday or the day before. I took care of that before I had to face you today. And George is going to take training. He's going to be part of our crew. And how many years did you have your own show here, George?
Oh, I guess it was about 3 or 4.
That's good. That's good. You remember everything they taught you, correct?
No. Yes. yes.
Don't lie now, George.
Yes.
It's not nice. Not nice. We don't lie here. We tell falsehoods. All right. So we're going to start the show, and we didn't have time to tell you about the timing lights before. So please, when I call your name, be good and listen to the timing, and you watch the lights over in the corner. Joan is the main timer today, and we'll work from there. I usually have the first speech because I sit in the catbird seat. Once I give this up, then I don't have to worry about my speech anymore until the next meeting after lunch. So I am doing a speech called Moments in Your Life. I'm doing this as part of a membership drive, not a membership drive, public relations drive. I'm working on that in one of the CL manuals. I'd like to let people know that when I ask, I'm VP in 3 clubs, so I plan the agendas for 3 clubs, 2 meetings here on the first Saturday of the month. And when I say to people, what speech are you going to do? I don't know, I can't think of anything. And that just drives me nuts. October was my 29th anniversary as a Toastmaster, and believe me, you can talk about anything. It doesn't have to be rocket science. So I made up this thing called Moments in Your Life, what to talk about when you think you have nothing to say. And let me just ask, simple question. Are you ever stumped for an idea for a speech at one of your Toastmasters meetings? If you answer yes, let me ask you why. If you can answer why, then you should be able to use that in a speech, okay? Are you such an uninteresting person that the story of your life can't inspire or bring a smile to someone's face? Let's take a look. The average Toastmaster. These are things to think about. 10 speeches in the basic manual that all new Toastmasters have to do before they can move into the advanced world. In what decade were you born? All right. The life in America was different each decade. Where were you? Were you an only child? Or did you have siblings? What was the pecking order? Were you the firstborn, got all the favors, according to number 2? Or were you number 2 who had put up with the older sibling? Did you like school, or did you hate school? What did you like about school? Was it the teachers? What you were learning? That's up to you to flesh it out. School interests. I played basketball. I played a little flutter flute in grammar school. We went in a little parade. I don't know if it was the 4th of July or Flag Day, something like that. But boy, I could blow that little penny whistle all over the place. They didn't like it at home because I was really bad at it, but I did it anyway. I also had a very fine, when I went to Mary Lewis Academy, very fine experience, and I will make a speech, maybe on the air. It concerns Bishop Fulton J. Sheen, and I met him, and I will tell you, if not on the show, I'll tell you at a meeting how I got in contact with him. What about college, high school and college? Did you have a choice? I don't remember. I was raised by my aunt, and she felt that Mary Lewis Academy out in Jamaica Estates, we lived in Flushing, would be the place for me to go. Very regimented, the passionate monastery was up the hill. Father Owen Doyle, I couldn't remember his name. I didn't even have that written down. Father Owen Doyle, what a fantastic man. And he taught us religion. But you had to behave yourself because the nuns used to come down and wait at the train station to see if we had our beanies on and our white gloves on. So we learned discipline. What about career choices? I took in foster children. I worked at Mount Loretta, getting the kids up for school in the morning. I didn't think about that when I was growing up. I didn't know what. My aunt wanted me to be a teacher. I didn't want to be a teacher. But I think that's probably a place. In Toastmasters, you get to be a teacher, a mentor and a teacher, a confidant. A lot of secrets come across when friends are chatting about Toastmasters. You have to learn how to keep quiet. So did you have a boyfriend? At what age? I hated boys when I was growing up. All right, did boys have a girlfriend? Did you choose the religious life? What about your life's partner? Was it the first boy you kissed? Oh, what about that first kiss? I had my first kiss with Billy Beale in the boathouse. that his grandmother had across the channel from my summer home. How would you like to be remembered? I'm at that stage where I'm trying to be good, so I'll be remembered nicely. This is a blueprint for the first 10 speeches in the basic manual. What do you think you can do with yours? If you need help, get in touch with me. I like to tell people how they can make Toastmasters the easiest thing in the world to accomplish. And that's my deed for today. Moments in your life. Well, here, I said you could take this for your granddaughter.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, George. Pass it on. Isn't
Thank
that
you,
what
Fran.
it is?
That's what this was for.
All right. Now let's start the regular part of the show. Dan Sherman is new to our show. Dan said that he's been a Toastmaster about 30 years. And Dan, you can start walking up to the microphone while I introduce you. I can't see a thing beyond the camera. Oh, there you are, Dan. Thank you. And it was nice meeting you again. You said you knew me from years ago, and I guess if I'm 29 years in and you're 30 years in, we must have crossed paths along the line. You must have been a toddler by the time you started.
Yeah, just about.
Yeah, okay. I'm far from that. All right, Dan, this is very, very interesting. You're doing speech number 1 from the Communicating on Television, the Advanced Manual Straight Talk. And this is supposed to be a 3-minute plus or minus 30 seconds of straight talk. It's an editorial. So I've given you a total of 4 minutes, Joan. He has 4 minutes on the clock. And your timing will be, let's see, when the green light, let's see, it's the green light will come on in 2 minutes and 30 seconds, the yellow will come on in 3 minutes, and the red will come on 3 minutes and 30 seconds. You have 30 seconds to finish. So when you see the red light, you have 30 seconds to finish.
Sure.
So, and your title is, Joan Marizio is your evaluator, your title is The Next Generation of Railway for the Northeast Corridor. Let's all welcome a new member who's going to take training to be a crew member on the show. And I'm very happy to have you join George and join our crew. This is Dan Sermon.
Hi, Dan Sermon. Title of my speech is The Next Generation of Railway System in the Northeast Corridor. Currently, the railway system in the Northeast, as well as most of the United States, is well over 150 years old. Keep in mind that our European countries, our Asian countries, have replaced their railway systems in the last 50 years. We are about to make a decision shortly in the next year or few years on 2 types of systems. One is the maglev system, which is a magnetic railway above the ground. 2 is the Hyperloop, which is a new technology and is below the ground. Now, the maglev system is going to be a joint venture between the United States and the Japanese firm, because the Japanese firm have had a maglev system in their country since 1961. It just goes to show you how far behind our country is in transportation. Now with the maglev system, it's going to be above the ground. It's going to be a magnetic track, and we always hear that word NIMBY, not in my backyard. Okay. On top of that, the U.S. government is contributing $28 billion to this. Now, we know when the government quotes a price of $28 billion, most likely by the time the project is done, it's going to be double. On top of that, the U.S. government subsidizes Amtrak each year anywhere from $2 to $3 billion a year. So that's the first choice we have. Second choice we have is the Hyperloop. This is a new technology. Hyperloop is done by a new propulsion system. This is all done underground. A private firm, a private entrepreneur. His name is Elon Musk. We're familiar with Elon Musk, Tesla Motors, also SpaceX. He is the one that wants to get us to Mars in the next 10 to 15 years. With his Hyperloop system, he has already broken ground around the world, and just recently in California, he started his boring company to create build the Hyperloop there in California and Nevada. Now, he was just given the rights to break ground between Baltimore and D.C., that line, just about a month ago. So he's boring that Hyperloop line, and he was just given government approval to create the Hyperloop between Washington, D.C. and New York, which that time on that ride would be at least 30 minutes. So, when it comes to Hyperloop, this is new technology. It's a private entrepreneur, a private firm. He's using investors that he has for SpaceX, for Tesla, and introducing them to the Hyperloop, which they'll finance it, the Hyperloop. U.S. government might not be subsidizing this, but if they want a piece of the pie, they might contribute some money. Also, you're going to, like I said before, new technologies. This means new jobs. It's going to create a ample transportation system that this country hasn't seen in a long time. And that's my one stake that I have, is that the United States needs a new transportation system. So it's either the maglev system or the Hyperloop. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. Sounds very interesting.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. And our next speaker is my co-guest over here, George R. Hopkins. A lot of people on Staten Island know that name because you're a mystery writer, and we love your mysteries. Of course, you have a lot of other things going on in your life,
Yeah,
but
I
are you
do.
working on a new book now?
Yeah, I am, sort of, yeah, a little
Good,
bit.
good,
Yes,
good. Yeah, we always like to see George's books and see which of his neighbors' names are in the book. I like that. I was in one, Fran, and Liam was in one. When I saw
Yes.
Liam's name the first time, I thought, he named a character after Liam, and then a couple of books later, I was in it, and so
There you
other
go.
people. Well, to get from the precinct to get out of town, you have to pass my house.
Oh,
So it's
that's
always,
right.
yeah, a block away from Main Street, and
one,
the
two,
police
three.
precinct. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
So people should read George Hopkins. You can't put the book down once you start. So George, you're doing speech number 3. Get to the point in the basic manual. I've given you the full 7 minutes because you're a guest and you're a big shot.
Oh.
So and you're
Big shot.
yeah, well, you are.
I don't know about that.
Anyway, take it when it comes. And your evaluator is past District Governor Cindy Wilson. And I like your title. It's nothing to do with your books. It's attention span. Let's all welcome George Hopkins.
Thank you.
Oh, the timing,
Thank you.
George.
Thank you.
When you see the 6 minutes, 30 seconds, when you see the red, it's 30 seconds
Okay,
left.
thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster, the rest of you. I sometimes think I have the attention span of a goldfish. I read somewhere a goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. Now I seem to go from one thing to another. I don't know why, but it seems to be that's the way it is. I remember a long time ago I was a teacher at Susan Wagner High School, and the principal was observing this day. He's sitting in the back of the room, and my kids, they knew how to get me off the topic. So they asked me a question. They said, what was it like in the military? Now, the principal had been a colonel in the Army, and we were doing writing at the time. I was teaching them how to write an essay, and I sort of got off the topic. I told them how the first day of pre-qualifications, I actually didn't qualify. I missed by 2 points. But the second day, I realized what I needed to do was sight alignment and trigger squeeze. And I told them that that's the same thing with writing. It's sight alignment and trigger squeeze. You have to know your target, you have to look at it, and then you have to do it. My principal then raised his hand and said, what do they call it when you miss the target? Well, when you miss the target, they raise a red flag, and that flag is called Maggie's Drawers. Now, I'm not going to get into that. See, that's what happens. I get off the point all the time. I like to write, though. And in fact, one of the things, I guess, teaching writing, etc., I decided to write a book. And as Fran said, I wrote a novel, and then I wrote another one, 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 and then I wrote another one. How did it all come about? Well, as I say, I like to write. Years ago, I used to do writing while I was teaching. I would send articles to the Advance in the men's forum. And I wrote about everything. As a friend was saying before, I wrote about common things. I wrote about visiting the zoo, about going for a walk in Acme Woods, having dinner with friends at Danino's. One of the most interesting ones was having dinner with girls. I was the only guy at a table of women. And I learned things that night. I learned that you don't only wax the car, there are other waxing things which I didn't know anything about. But anyway, so that's the point. I'm thinking right now about a new topic to write about. And it's mulling over in my head, my crazy head, a lot of thoughts. But what I'm doing in the meantime, I decided to get my mind off of that. You see, there again, it's my attention span. I just go from one thing to the other. And I went back to a hobby that I had years and years ago, which was painting little Civil War soldiers. Now, I brought some today. They're tiny. They're very tiny. Here's a little Confederate. I'll put it over here. I don't know if you can see it or not. Okay. Here's what do we have here? We have. I believe this is. This could be. No, this is. Here we go. Here's General Lee. Now they're tiny. They're very tiny. Here's. Well, where is he? I can't find him. Oh, here's General Grant. He's smoking a cigar. And one of my, well, why did I get involved with the Civil War? That's a good question. There I go again, okay? But two of my great-grandfathers fought in the Civil War, and they fought for the Union. I have to tell you that, okay? One of them was in the Anderson Zouaves, and they wore these French costumes almost in the war. One of the things one of the great-grandfathers was wounded, and he was captured. And I'd say maybe that's one of the reasons I'm interested in the Civil War. But now there are no such statues for my grandparents. They're not there. Okay, as there aren't any individual statues for people who fought in our soldiers. There are no individuals. And that's one of the reasons I guess I get a little bit annoyed. I get more than annoyed when I see people disrespecting our flag. It bothers me. But again, I want to get off the topic. I could go forever on that. And in this business of getting off the topic, sometimes I feel like I'm not only a goldfish, but a butterfly, where I go from one thing to another to another. I have to settle down a little bit. But then I read a study given by Microsoft, and they said that up in Canada, they surveyed 2,000 people, and they gave 112 encephalographs to people to study their brain waves. And they found that the average human being now has an attention span of 8 seconds. Now, the goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. That's a little scary. Now, they went back and they saw that this study went from the year 2000, when the mobile systems started to come into effect and people started using the mobile phones, etc. And the attention span then was 12 seconds. So we have fallen down in our attention span. Why? Well, people are more, they jump from one thing to another thing. Now ask yourself this question. Your cell phone, do you feel naked if you leave the house without it? I don't, but I know my wife does, and she's got to have the cell phone with her at all times. I don't have to do that. Part of the study said that actually 77% of the people from 18 to 24 actually felt strange without their cell phone. They wanted to communicate with somebody. You probably have that too. Have you been on? Do you ever want to reach for your cell phone, and to just talk to somebody? Well, I don't know. I don't have to, but some people do. Now, the point of my whole talk here is attention span. And I really think that if you have been listening to me for approximately 7 minutes, and now remember, the attention span is usually 8 minutes. Well, I think everybody here deserves a round of applause because you've been able to beat that and to really concentrate on one thing. And that's my point, okay? I hope all of you keep up that attention span, okay? That's it. Thank you very much.
Okay, George. Thank you. They're very lovely. Okay. And now we're seeing Joan Maurizio. And I see somebody's timing for you in the back there. So, when the red light comes on, you only have 30 seconds to stop.
She's called Loyal Lucy.
Who?
Loyal Lucy.
Okay, very good. All right, you're doing speech number 3 from the Humorously Speaking Advanced Manual. Make them laugh. George, you're her evaluator. And you have 5 minutes, Joan. The title is To Consume or Not to Consume, ... Let's all welcome Joan Maurizio.
Good morning, showmanship, Mrs. Ogerson. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, Toastmasters in the audience, and the viewers at home. I'd like to start off with the joke, as that's going to be the basis of the focus of my speech. So the first joke is, what did the bull say to the cow? And the friend of the person being asked, what? What did they say? What could they possibly... The bull didn't say anything. It actually sang, when I fall in love, it will be forever, Heifer, as opposed to forever. So I thought that was a cute one. Anyway, I have this magazine with me called Consumer Reports, and in there they talk about so many things, but they're not really consumable to me. Consumable as far as products, yes, you can buy them and use them and be happy with them, but then there is the consuming of what we put in our bodies. But first I'd like to briefly touch on what I already mentioned. In here is about generators. The best generator they have rated has an electric start. Pray tell, why do you need a generator if you have electricity to begin with? But that's besides the point. And then there's another one that actually tells about toilet paper. I just think that is so, so funny that they had to rate toilet paper. But let's get down to the meat of things. And this is all about the beef industry. And that's what the cover is about. The cover is about the beef industry. And what happens is people are consuming so much of it, and they have little idea of what in the world is going on with our beef industry. So let me point that out. First of all, these guys are too cute to be eating. That's my feeling about it. I'm eating less and less meat, and I noticed that I'm eating chicken a lot. I looked at the diet, and it says, in the conventional cow industry, they're fed corn, soy, and primary foods. They're also fed candy, chicken coop waste, and I don't even want to mention the other animals' parts that they're fed. But anyway, let's make this fun again. What made the cow jump over the moon? What? The milkmaid had cold hands. Ooh. Hey, they laughed. I'm so happy. Then we go on to this. There's a graph here. It's too small to see on TV, but I'll let you know what it says. Unfortunately, the fourth thing on this that makes us sick is beef. And it says all types. Now, from another source I have at home, there's a doctor called Hulda Clark. She wrote a whole book about preventing cancer. And unfortunately, because she wasn't a doctor of oncology, they threw her in jail because that country's very strict on their rules. It's not so free as we are. And one of the things she pointed out is if you eat beef and it's not kosher, you can have parasitic flukes. It's very, very possible you have flukes, F-L-U-K-E-S. Nothing to do with fish. They're parasites in your body. So you say to yourself, all right, so what should you do? They say grass-fed is best, but actually kosher meat is brought up a whole different way. So if you really want to be safe, that's what you should do. Now, the next thing they want you to know is, what's the easiest way to count a herd of cattle? Use a calculator. Now they talk about, getting back to seriousness, how much bacteria is there in beef? And it shows two charts, and it even shows now that there's superbugs. There never was superbugs in beef before, but you know what? The world is becoming more and more contaminated. But what's scary about this is there's other countries that are much better in this industry than we are, and I think it's what we're feeding our livestock. It's the genetically modified corn, started 40, 50, 60 years ago. And then it's all the other stuff that follows, the grains. There's other countries that won't buy our stuff, but we feed it to our animals. So it's kind of sad about what they're telling you about beef. There's nothing safe about it, really. What you need to do, though, is if you're going to have beef, don't have it like I used to have it, medium to well done or medium rare. And I don't do that anymore because I know I can get very sick. You know what? I think it's time for another good joke. What do you call a bull that tells jokes? What? Oh, laughable. Laughable. All right, now getting back to this, I want to tell you something else. They show the conventional cow and they show the grass-fed cow. And I know you can't see it. I'm sorry you can't. I should have probably handed this in to the people in the control room. The conventional cow, believe it or not, looks like the healthy cow. This other cow looks like it's scrawny. It doesn't look too happy. But anyway, that is the healthier cow. So I just think that's very, very interesting. Now I'd like to go back to being not so serious. And they want to know, how do you get an Alaskan What do you get from an Alaskan cow? And the answer is cold cream. Women will understand that more than men because we use cold cream on our faces. Men just know cold cream is what you put in very hot coffee to cool it off. But anyway, that's that. The other thing they're saying is that you have to watch out for the antibiotics and the hormones in cows. And they're saying that they pass their stuff on to us, especially if you eat the organs of the animal. Some people eat beef liver and such. It's not really the safest thing anymore, unless somebody can certify for you that this is kosher-fed or grass-fed or raised on a cow at Rodale Farms, the people that are responsible for Rodale Press. You're not really safe. It's very, very scary, and I'm glad. I've heard people over the years, including friends, saying, no more meat. I can't eat meat. I can't stand to see anything that looks this cute staring back at me. So she's got a great idea there, but just for your own safety, your own health, your own benefit, your own well-being, find some other source of protein. Don't depend on the poor cow. And another one is there's a fact about their methane. Their methane is out there, but so is the oil being drilled in the sea, pushing the methane up from under the sea. But there's all kinds of methane. They give out their own, and that's another complaint about them. So, another joke. What did the farmer call the cow that wouldn't give him any milk? And the answer is an utter failure. So what happened when he brought this cow to the milking competition? Utter chaos. And I don't want to continue with bad news, so on a good note, I'd like to say, the finished product here is, where do burgers like to dance? At the meatball. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Joan. Very, very nice. And now, hi, Sue. All right, this is a long walk from the control room, isn't it? All right, so Sue is going to... Sue, I think I made a mistake. I gave you a DTM 3 and you're a DTM 2.
That's correct.
Next year. Okay. All right, that's because you followed Joan. Okay, you're doing speech number 5 in the basic manual, Your Body Speaks. Lucy Kahn is your evaluator, and your title is Get Moving, Keep Moving. Let's all welcome Sue Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, studio audience, and listeners at home. How many of you are like me and sit at a sedentary job? Today, I'm going to give you a few hints on some things that I use to get moving and keep moving. Perhaps you can incorporate some of these ideas into your lifestyle to become healthier and perhaps happier. Number 1, for get moving. You need to pick out an activity or a sport or something you like to do. It may be walking, and it may be diving into a pool. It may be lifting weights. It may be practicing yoga. It may be any or all of the above. The point is that you need to find something that resonates with you. If you don't like it, you're not going to do it. So pick an activity that you like. Before you start anything, if you've been sedentary, please check with your doctor to see if what you're looking to do will be safe. Once you decide what to do, think about your style. Are you the kind of person that likes to zone in on your exercise, do everything by yourself, or do you need an accountability buddy, a partner, a spouse, other family member, colleague at work? Maybe you want to walk during lunch? Or are you the kind of person that thrives lots and lots and lots of people, in a class perhaps, or on a team? If you're the solo type, you can do what you want, when you want. If you need that support from an accountability buddy, you'll make up a time you like to get together to exercise or do your sport together. The point being is you might have a combination of these styles. Let me give you an example. When I like to walk by myself during the middle of the day, I'll go outside, I'll pay attention to what's going on in the community, I'll pump my arms, and I'll take a nice brisk walk for 2.2 miles, and when I come back to work, I'm refreshed. So you get moving, and you have it in your mind that you're looking forward to this. Something else I like to do is perhaps go to a class. I haven't been to a class in a while, but when I do, I enjoy the camaraderie. I like listening to the other people and getting the benefit of an instructor to tell me if maybe my yoga pose is not quite there. I'm bending my shoulder too much, and maybe I'm leaning back. An instructor will give you that benefit. The next thing you need to do is remember about keep moving. You have your plan, you know what you want to do, or maybe there's 2 or 3 things that you like to do. So you engage in these activities anywhere from maybe 3 to 4, maybe even 5 times a week. But then you're only getting the same benefit and not progressing. So to keep moving, you need to maybe change it up a little. Maybe you want to do weights in conjunction with the yoga. Maybe you need something to go a little faster or further with your walking program. Maybe you want to mix it up. So whatever you choose, it has to be right for your style, right for you, and you have to build in some kind of benefit so you're going to continue to progress. So while you get moving, you can keep moving to enjoy a happy, healthy, and active lifestyle. Madam Toastmaster.
Very much, Sue. I'm exhausted just listening to you. Just do a nice presentation now. All right, and our final speaker today is past District Governor Cindy Wilson, who is a DTM 4. When are you going to file 5?
Hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
Good. We'll have to have that on the show and tell everybody. And you were our past district governor in 2014, 2015. So it seems a long time ago, doesn't it?
It does, but time goes very quickly.
I
It
know.
goes fast.
I know. Anyway, you were one of the good ones. Okay, you're doing speech number 5 from the Humorously Speaking Advanced Manual, the humorous speech. And Sue Brooks is your evaluator. That's why I asked Sue to stay out here so she can be the first evaluator, and then she can go back to her desk in the control room. And your title, I have no idea where you're going with this, but it's 2 for the price of 1. Let's all welcome Cindy Wilson.
Thank you. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. In the past few months, I've been talking about The Seven Ladies Godiva, which was a book that was written by Dr. Seuss. Well, if you kept up with me, you know that there's 3 down and 4 to go. Our story today is about Lady Mitzi Godiva. She had a boyfriend who sailed the 7 seas, and she received from him this note one day that said, "Mitzi, my sweet, it's 7 years now. How about that horse truth? Your love, Peeping Jack." Well, if you recall, the sisters are looking for a truth that will allow them to marry the man of their dreams. Mitzi took her mind back across the hills and the dales and the seas and the oceans, and she thought about, lobster, fish sticks, seahorses. An idea! Seahorses. Let me get my horses ready to be able to deal with water. So she would bathe them all the time. She would jump off the cliffs of Dover. She would feed them seaweed. And when her horses were ready, she decided, let's trigger something with this. She's going for equestrian aquatics. Now that is going to be very interesting. And she wanted to make, as I said, those horses feel well in water. She built this rowboat with a treadmill in it. And she took one of her horses and she was helping them pedal along, and the horse is trotting on the treadmill. Eventually, the horse got hoof burn. Think about it. If you bought a new pair of shoes and you went to run a 5K race, wouldn't your feet hurt? Just like that. She said, God, I am truly pissed off because I can't get this to go the way I want to. But let me scuttle this and try something different. She built a new boat. And because she wanted to ensure that we could get across the water, She used 2 horses, Clover and Dappler. Her new boat had a poop deck that Dappler sat on, the treadmill that Clover was on, and she sat in the back, holding on with a harness. Away they go! Clover is trotting along on the treadmill. She is just having so much fun, and then they get a good 13 knots out to sea. Hoof burn again. So Mitzi says to Dappler, Dappler, I want you to move forward and take Clover's place. Dappler says, I'll go. And Dappler starts to move forward to take Clover's place. But instead of going on the side of Clover, Dappler decided to go over Clover. Just like any other man, you know how they're like. So here we are. Dappler is climbing on top of Clover. Clover goes, and then she gives Dappler a kick. With that kick, Dappler goes flying up into the air and lands on the boat. With that, he knocks poor Mitzi over, and all you could see is her shoulders stuck underneath the seats and her butt hanging out. She just didn't know what else she could do except try it. Again, one more time. Clover goes, whee! Lands again on top of Dappler and knocks Dappler out cold. Poor Dappler. He doesn't know what to do because he's out cold. And now Clover is on top of him, and she decides she's going to give him a stomp. What does she do? She lands on his bladder. So poor Mitzi, who's lying down there with her shoulders stuck under the seat and her butt wiggling back and forth trying to get out, feels such a heavy load on her, and then she feels this warm water. Oh, good. Thank God the rowboat broke apart, and now they were sweeping themselves out to sea. It just so happens that Sir Jack was there, and he rescued her and could marry her right away. So ladies and gentlemen, fellow Toastmasters, she learned 2 mottos. Her horse truth, which was, do not change horses in midstream, and a more common sense truth. It's better to be pissed off than pissed on. Madam Toastmaster.
After the last speech, we gotta get her another book. Oh, that was great, Cindy. Great. All right, now we're going to the evaluation portions of the meeting. And remember again, let me just tell you, when you finish, let's see, the evaluations are 1.5 we use here. All right, when you see the red light, you have 10 seconds to finish. Please don't go over. We want to make sure that you had a hard time with her speech, didn't you? It was nice that she followed you, all that exercise. Yes. Right? I saw a sort of a sequel there. All right, Sue, would you tell us what you thought about Cindy's speech, 2 for the price of 1? Sue Brooks.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Cindy was presenting the humorous speech from the Humorous Speaking Manual, and I thought she did a great job of entertaining us. I liked how she used her props with the book. She had her little glasses on, and the thing that really resonated with me was this is part of a series. So if you've been listening to the shows or had the opportunity to hear Cindy speak, and you heard that this is part of her story of the one of a series about the different horses, then you can kind of pick up where you left off and remember that, okay, she's doing a series. So it's a lot of fun to hear, okay, what's next? She did a good job making this story humorous with the props, her glasses, her gestures were dynamic. I like how she utilized various voices to portray the different characters and to keep us engaged along the stories. She tied it up neatly with the various fun elements by reiterating the part about not having the horses change midstream and better to be pissed off than pissed on. And overall, it was fun, entertaining, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to evaluate Cindy's speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Now, for a little change of pace, my speech was evaluated by a team because I was doing a speech that had to be evaluated by the general evaluator and 3 other evaluators. Since I'm the GE, I put 4 people together. So we'll call them in order. Each one of them has the script for this speech. Paul Paradise, I believe you're first, Paul. Where are you? Please, Paul Paradise, where are you? All right, would you please go, and each one of you has 30 seconds to just hit the point that there were 5 points on the page, and I gave you the first point.
Okay, well, first,
So just give the response, okay?
okay, Fran, you're like the Boy Scouts. You're always prepared. I think you met the objectives of the training program very, very well. And I really liked your beginning where you were talking about growing up in the parochial school and the training that you got, which I think prepared you later on for getting into the training program later on in the Toastmasters. I think that was very, very important, how an early training played off later on when you got into Toastmasters. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Now we have George, you're the second person on the list.
Okay, and my question was, how was the training program directed toward the needs of the audience? I thought it was great. It was very concrete. You gave excellent examples, common illustrations, and you also had the human touch there. You showed us how we could go with what we know and come up with a speech of some sort. It was personal, and it was very warm, and I really enjoyed it, and I want to find out more about Billy Beal. Wasn't he the first kiss?
Yes.
Billy Beal.
Oh,
I'm
did
sorry.
I mention his name today?
Yes, you did.
All right.
So no, I thought for anybody who's thinking about giving a speech, what you said was great, and it's good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I guess if you didn't like it, you would have thrown my notes back to me instead of taking them home for your granddaughter, right?
That's it.
So since you took them,
That's
I
it.
guess they're going to
That's
the right
good.
place.
That's good.
Okay, very good, George. And Lucy Kahn. Hi, Lucy.
Hi.
Lucy, you're the third one, and you have the question that has 2 lines to it, but can you make it a synopsis, okay?
Okay, the training program is well organized. You really did a good job in organizing the program, the training program, and the audience have all the information that they need this way. It's really well done. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. And you've got grandchildren, too. All right, pass it down. Joan, you also have a 2-liner. In fact, you have even more words than Lucy. And you were supposed to take care of my facial gestures and my looking at the camera and everything. So why don't you wrap it up and help us out with that?
I'm going to say they all spoke the truth. I agree with all of them. I only wrote speaker relate to the camera very well. Relaxed, confident, poised, as always, yes. And distracting mannerisms, none. And that's N-O-N-E, not N-U-N. But you did a great job. Thank you.
There
Now,
was
should
a
I stay
time when
here
that was
for-
part of the consideration of my life, but that passed. Thank you very much,
Should you stay
Joan.
here for this, the next?
I'm sorry?
I'll disappear for a while.
Whatever. Okay, and now we're going into the next evaluator. Let me go back to my page. Dan Sherman's about, oh, Joan, yes, you were pointing to that. Yeah, you should have just stayed there. All right, you're going to tell Dan all about your feeling about the next generation of railway for the Northeast Corridor. And be very nice to him. He's going to join our crew and take the training, so be very nice to him.
Well, there's no reason, folks, to put on a show. He really did a great job. They wanted to know what was the news event or current issue on which the editorial was based. And I said, this was a great idea. We need to fix a 100-year-old system before it crumbles. And I saw on the news the other day, we're number 26 on the list of I don't know how many, but Japan has the best, the number 1 in the world. Tokyo? Hong Kong? I don't know. Anyway, on the other side of the planet, they're much better than we are. Here it says, clearly present. I said, of course, and you spoke of benefits, including the jobs. I think jobs is very important in this country with everything going overseas. Now, the speaker showed logic, and I said yes, and reasoning and explaining the viewpoint. And I said, like a true spokesperson, almost like Superman, because he had some fantastic gestures. Were the words carefully chosen, short and clearly pronounced? And I said, yes, 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 3 times. Did he relate convincingly to the camera? I said, yes, this was superb, and especially, that's where the hand gestures came out. I think I counted about 8 different hand gestures. It wasn't just one. He had many, and he used one hand at one time, one hand the other, sometimes 2 hands at a time. So he was very, very good at that. Was his appearance appropriate? Yes. And did the appearance affect the editorial? And it said he was dressed casual, business, cordial, comfortable. That's what people want to see. When you're presenting a problem and you have the idea to fix it, you want them to be comfortable. How effective did you feel the editorial would have been if it had been an actual broadcast? I said to myself, I'll be happy when I see this job come to pass. I don't know if it'll be accomplished before I'm gone, and I don't mean gone to Mars, I mean gone from the planet. But I also wondered now, what will Warren Buffett's job be in this? Because I know he bought a bunch of the railroad system. So he can go on with something else based on that. But I thought this was a fantastic speech. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A very good editorial, too, Joan. All right. And now we have Cindy coming up to evaluate George's speech. Cindy, oh, Cindy. There you
Riding on the Shinkansen,
Okay.
which is the Tokyo rail system. George, let me tell you, you are an excellent speaker, and your seasoning shows forth in the way you presented your speech. I really did enjoy the title of attention span, and to find that a fish has a longer attention span than I do makes me wonder as to why we do things like that. And I'm with you on the thing about cell phones. I can walk out of my house without my cell phone and not be worried about it. My daughter has it attached to her hip, and every time she leaves it behind or loses electricity, she panics. I liked how you put together the body along with your introduction and your conclusion, which brought back to us each of the examples of how our attention spans can wander or be well focused. You didn't use any notes, and I know you were on TV, and that shows. It shows oh so well that your facial gestures, the way you used your hands, it shows that of professional. My only sad point is the figurines. I would have loved to have been able to see them. I know miniatures are some of the most careful things to do, but it would have been great if we were able to see them on television. I think our audience would have truly loved it. Overall, I loved all your anecdotes, especially about sight alignment and trigger squeeze, because I used to shoot when I used to be in the police reserves, and that was what my trainer taught me, was sight alignment and trigger squeeze. So thank you ever so much. I do look forward to seeing another speech from you, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Maybe we can get him to bring his miniatures back again.
Thank you.
Maybe Peter can do something if you got a picture.
Okay,
and put
all
it
right,
on.
sure,
We'll see
sure.
what can be done. I saw a little bit here, but he did do a close-up up there. I
Yeah.
looked, and
Oh,
he
yeah, he
did
did?
bring it as far as he could.
Good. Oh, thank you.
Okay, and now Joan's speech was, this is give and take, I guess.
Oh, yeah, it gets
You're very busy now, too. All right. To consume or not to consume? Go ahead, George.
Okay, well, I thought the opening pun was related right to the topic, the overall topic of eating beef. I think it was a great job. As far as the closing, again, you did the same thing. You came back with a number of jokes to tie it all together. I don't know where you came up with all these jokes. They were well, I don't know if fantastic is the right word. They were interesting, okay? Puns are a very interesting thing. They tell you if you understand a pun, you're intelligent. You know, I have a favorite pun, which is what do you call a seagull that flies over the bay? It's a bagel. But anyway, I found the transitions you do were great. You use illustrations that came from a book. You showed what a healthy cow looks like and what the cows that we eat look like. You did a great job, and I found even the jokes at the end, they pulled it all together. So overall, I think it was a great job, and I thank you very much. I don't know whether I'm going to have that meat sandwich at lunch anymore, but anyway, it was good. Thank you.
Joe knows the way I feel. Any animal that has eyes or has a mommy, I want nothing, nothing bad to happen to him. I stopped right after 9/11. I had a bad dream, and the next day I just stopped eating meat, fish, chicken. Can't eat any of that anymore. So anyway, we each have our own thing to do.
Yeah.
All right, Sue, your evaluator's loose. Hi there.
Hi.
You just snuck along there, didn't you? Lucy, get moving and keep moving. Let's all hear what you're going to do when you go home. You're going to run behind Richard's car? Run. I'm coming. Lucy Kahn.
Good morning, fellow Toastmaster, viewing audience, and guests, and especially Sue. So you always give us a very good speeches and presentation, especially this get moving and keep moving. You start with a very strong opening. I like the way your preparation, the manner you did it, your posture was great, your gesture, you have a very great gesture, your body movement, and your eye contact. I like the way you do this and tell us all kinds of exercise that we need to do. I need to move myself too because I'm always sitting down and reading on my computer, and now I have a backache, and I think that when I go home I'll try to do some of the exercise you tell us. Your conclusion is great, and you show us how to keep moving and do what you want to do, which is very good, because some people doesn't do what they want to do. Some people wants to do the exercise by themselves, and some people wants to do with other people. You want us to be happy and healthy, and make sure that we have our own lifestyle. And the only thing that about your what can be done is that, like, maybe you can give us some example of all those exercises, like little instruction on how to run and how to exercise, and maybe that will help us get excited and do what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lucy. Now, George, I'm going to ask you the first table topic question, so don't look at my paper here now.
Okay,
You're going to enjoy this tremendously.
I hope so.
It'll bring back memories. All right, George Hopkins. Many years ago, I had a crush on actor Dana Andrews, who starred in Laura in 1944. Yes, I was alive then. The Best Years of Our Lives in 1946, and Deep Waters, my favorite film, in 1948. I said to Peter, can you get me Deep Waters in a book so I can get it on my Kindle? He said, I already bought you the DVD. And he went right over to one of my 9 bookcases and he pulled it right out. So that's what I want to do next week, is see that again, because I loved him. So George, your question is, tell us about the best years of your life. George Hopkins.
Thank
I
you.
said
Thank
you'd love
you.
the question.
Yeah, the best years of my life are right here. I mean, it's a culmination as we go along and we think about what's happening. I think since we started having grandchildren, we have 10 grandchildren.
Wow.
And I enjoy doing their homework with some of them when I babysit. They're really not babysitting anymore. They're a little bit bigger than that. But to see the joy in their faces when they see Pop-Up and Grammy come over, it's a lot of fun. We've been very blessed when I think about that. And when I go out and I help other people do things, I think about how really fortunate we are, really all of us here, no matter what difficulties we may have, because we all carry a cross, but it's how we deal with the crosses that we have. So the best years of my life are they're now, and hopefully they'll be in the future. How long that is, I don't know, but it's
Nobody knows but the man upstairs,
That's
right?
it. So, but thank you. Thank you.
Oh, I don't embarrass anybody with a table topic question. Maybe in a club meeting, but not on TV. No.
Okay.
And just so the audience knows, I do send DVDs into California, and they seem to enjoy them.
oh, boy.
I like them to see what we're doing in Staten Island. All right, is our director out here, since I'm the producer? Hello, Isaac. You're wearing dark colors, and with that dark blue curtain, I could hardly see you walk up. Are you ready for your question?
They see my face. Yes, I am.
Okay. Isaac Galvinovich, if you had your choice, this took a long time for me to get this question. If you had your choice, would you rather be healthy, wealthy, or wise? Isaac Galvinovich.
I would rather be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Yes. It's a very good question, and I have very good answer. I would be healthy, wealthy, and wise. Thank you, friend, for the good question.
The other thing says why.
Why? It's hard to separate one from the other. If you are wealthy and sick, or healthy and poor, you cannot be happy. If you're healthy, wealthy, and wise, you can be happy. So I'd like to be happy. I'd like for everybody to be happy. So let everybody be healthy, wealthy, and wise, if you can. Thank
You got yourself out of that one very nicely. Thank you, Isaac. I try to trap him a little bit, but he just, you ask him a question, he'll come up, say no. All right, Paul Paradise. Yeah, this was a nice question because Peter's been helping me with questions for the last few shows.
Okay.
Because I have a lot of books I'm reading. And the other night I asked him, and he said, I'll get to you later. But then I came up with this question. I'm very proud of it because I like it. Paul, if you were asked to take an out-of-town business associate sightseeing in Manhattan for one day, where would you take him or her? Paul Paradise.
Okay, great. That's a wonderful question.
I
There's so
thought it
many
was
places
too.
I could take them. One possibility, believe it or not, would be Macy's department store. Macy's is the largest department store in the country, and I might just take them shopping. One of the things that's interesting about Macy's is they have a dog kennel on the roof. And that was because they had such a shoplifting problem that it was impossible for them to hire enough people to actually go on the floors to catch them. So they came up with the idea of putting a dog kennel on the roof and going and searching through all the floors with dogs. And this turned out to be a winning strategy for them. Wow. So that's one possibility that I might use if I was going to take someone into New York City. Other possibilities might be some of the museums or some of the, just possibly a walk in Central Park. Thank you.
You surprise me sometimes with the answers you give. It seems that you've got a lot in your head up there. Thank you very much, Paul.
Okay.
How much time do we have over there?
A minute and 47.
Okay. All right. What we're going to do, folks, this is the end of our show. We hope you've enjoyed it. I do want to just make a mention that tomorrow, Sunday morning, is the marathon. And I was watching the news last night with all the police that they're getting ready at Fort Wadsworth on Staten Island and all the way into Central Park, all the barricades that are going up, all the security and everything. Let's all go to bed tonight with a little prayer that these folks are safe and are there to do what they want to do, because they're just doing it, again, like Sue, to be healthy, not maybe wealthy or wise, but let's all say a special prayer tonight that no harm comes to any of our runners or the people who are protecting them. And George, I'm so glad you came back.
Thank you.
And as I
Thanks for
said, if
having
you
me.
want to do a speech about your little figures, send Peter a photograph and he'll try to do something for you, okay?
Fine. Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so you enjoyed coming back, and you're back in Staten Island
there you go. There we
Toastmasters?
go. Okay, thank you very much. And
Yes.
you do a great job, Fran. It's good.
I think it's a lot of fun. We have a lot of good people on Staten
Yeah, you
Island.
do.
And for anyone else, at the end of the taping, you'll see my phone number and my email, and we're over?
No.
What?
No, yeah.
Oh, it's not over yet? I don't
No,
know.
you got 34 seconds.
Oh, 34 seconds, according to him. But get in touch if you're interested in coming to one of our meetings. We have 5 clubs on Staten Island. We're Area 64. I'm the area director this year until next June 30th, and we'll be very happy to find a club that will meet your needs. So, George, this is the close of another show. We're in the
Okay.
middle of our 13th year, and it's amazing.
May the force be with you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. All right,
Okay, we're
take
going
it.
to play the
Thank
music
you
in a
much.
minute.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, and I'll be
It's-
seeing you probably at a Staten Island meeting. You come
Okay.
someday when
We'll try.
Liam is there. You come.
Yes, sure will.
All right.
Okay? Thanks a lot.
Good.
Thank
Okay.
you. Thank
And
you.
we'll see you maybe next month. You come back when we're talking about
Okay.
Father Capodanno.
Good, good.
All righty.
We'll go.
I still don't hear the.
Good, good.
You should be hearing the
Should
music.
be. Yeah, I think it's coming.
Okay. There we go.
All right, all right. Hey.